Hello dear viewers. Thank you for visiting our channel. Today, we bring you a surprising and touching story that will surely make you reflect. Sit back and get ready for an unforgettable experience. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on exciting videos coming up. Have you ever thought that your life could change in just one phone call? What would happen if you received news of a loss, only to realize it was a misunderstanding? How do you think your family would cope when a loved one, thought to be lost, suddenly returns? One day, you receive news that your father has been in a plane crash, and all the passengers are reported dead. How would you feel? Devastated, helpless, unable to accept the truth? But then, could you believe it when an unexpected call comes in, and the caller is your father? How would you react when you find out he's still alive because he had changed his flight at the last minute to avoid the crash? Can you imagine the joy and relief when your entire family is reunited, with tears not of loss but of overwhelming happiness? If you found this story moving, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to follow more exciting videos. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. When James received the news about his father's business trip, he felt that everything was normal, just like any other time. His father's flight would take him to a distant city, but for James, it was just another short business trip, and his father would return, just like he always did. However, no one could have anticipated the tragedy that was about to unfold. James' family was living in a state of peace, and the days were passing without anything remarkable. But everything changed in an instant. One day after his father had boarded the plane, James' family was confronted with a piece of news that they couldn't believe. The feeling of calm was suddenly swept away when James' mother's phone rang with a call from the flight agency. The voice on the other end was unusually serious, delivering the shocking news: "We regret to inform you, but the flight your father was on has crashed, and there were no survivors." At that moment, the atmosphere in the house froze. James and his mother were speechless, unable to say anything. Their minds were spinning with disbelief, struggling to understand what was happening. They thought they were living in a nightmare that they would wake up from, only to find everything was back to normal, but that didn't happen. Minutes turned into hours, and the heaviness of the news loomed over them. James and his mother repeatedly tried calling his father, but every attempt was in vain. Nothing could connect them to him. These efforts only led to more despair as their calls went unanswered. No one could understand the emptiness they felt at that moment. All the hopes of a good outcome seemed to vanish, leaving only a brutal truth: James' father was gone, and there was nothing they could do to change it. They couldn't accept what had just happened, but the reality was undeniable. James felt as though a part of his life had been stolen from him, an irreplaceable part. His mother, too, silently wept in sorrow, a deep pain that made it impossible for her to find an escape. They sat still in the darkened room, unable to move or speak. The emptiness, fear, and sorrow overwhelmed every corner of their hearts. Words of sympathy from friends and family couldn't ease their deep grief. No matter how hard they tried, nothing could change the truth. Words of condolences were like broken fragments that couldn't be pieced together into a whole. James' family had lost someone essential to their lives, and no amount of time would ever completely heal the wound in their hearts. Even so, they still held on to a faint hope, even if it was fragile, that there might be some mistake, a misunderstanding. But no, the truth was clear and cruel. The family was drowning in sorrow and despair. James could not imagine what his life would be like without his father, who had always been his rock. Now, only emptiness remained, along with sweet memories of a father who had always been there, caring for and protecting him. The mornings waking up, the late-night conversations, the warm hugs, those moments had become fading memories. A wonderful father had left them forever, leaving a void that could never be filled. After days of darkness, when all hope seemed to have vanished, an unexpected call changed everything. James' family, who had been drowning in grief, could not imagine that their lives would be turned upside down in such a moment. After receiving news of the plane crash, they had almost given up on everything. The pain was indescribable, tears never stopped falling, and James' mind was filled with unanswered questions. Had his father really passed away forever? Could his family overcome this sorrow? One day, while James and his mother were sitting in disbelief, his mother's phone suddenly rang, startling everyone. She quickly picked it up, her eyes fixed on the phone screen in utter surprise. The caller's name appeared, caller, James' dad. His mother stared at the screen, unable to believe her eyes. Could it really be James' father? This couldn't be true because just a day before, they had received the news of the plane crash, and all the passengers on board were reported dead. James' mother trembled as she picked up the phone, a surge of anxiety rising within her. When she pressed the answer button, a familiar voice came through. "Hello, it's me, your father." It was the voice of her husband, clear and full of life, completely different from the death they had been told about. At that moment, all emotions surged. James stood up abruptly, unable to speak, his eyes filled with tears, not knowing how to react. He never thought he would hear his father's voice again. "Don't worry, son, I'm fine. I changed my flight because of a small schedule issue. I didn't take the flight that crashed, so I'm still here, still healthy," his father continued, his voice calm yet certain. Each word, each sentence his father spoke felt like a magical explanation that wiped away all the worries and fears that had taken over. James couldn't believe his ears, but the truth was undeniable. his father was still alive. The call not only brought unexpected joy but also felt like a miracle, waking the entire family from their grief. James' mother heard her husband's voice through the phone, and tears started to fall again. But these were tears of happiness, of relief that could not be described. She placed her hand over her chest, feeling her heart race with joy. The fear and anxiety disappeared, replaced by boundless happiness. The stories of misfortune, of the death of a loved one, suddenly became the past. James felt like someone who had just woken up from a long dream. He couldn't stop thanking God and life for giving him the chance to see his father again, someone he thought he would never see again. He felt like the whole world had suddenly become brighter, with a flame of hope reigniting within him. In just one moment, everything had changed, and the miracle had happened. His father was still alive, and their family wouldn't have to bear the immense sorrow anymore. After the call, James and his mother couldn't stop celebrating. They hugged each other tightly, unable to believe they had been reunited with their beloved father. The whole family gathered together, talking, sharing precious moments that they had thought would never happen again. The happiness filled the air, and all the worries, fears, and anxieties vanished in an instant. Every member of the family felt a deep appreciation for life, for the loved ones they still had. James' entire family could hardly believe what had just happened. They sat there, embracing each other, each person silently giving thanks to life, for the miracle that had come into their lives. Every passing moment felt filled with happiness, as if the pain of loss they had endured before was merely a nightmare, and now they had woken up to boundless joy. James and his mother looked at each other, their eyes still wet, but these were tears of happiness, emotions that couldn't be put into words. Diep, James' wife, also felt this joy. She stood by, watching the scene of the family gathered together, unable to stop smiling. Her eyes gleamed with emotion, and her heart was filled with gratitude. She had witnessed the suffering of James and his mother during the past few days, and now, seeing everything return to normal, she couldn't hide the happiness within her. She held James' hand, giving him a tight hug, as if to show him that she was always there, always by his side through every challenge. Now, James' family was together again, in a way that felt both complete and meaningful. All the worries and sorrows that had previously engulfed them seemed to disappear, making way for reunion. The whole family sat around the dining table, talking, sharing stories they had forgotten during the stressful and anxious days. They laughed, recounting precious moments that they thought would never happen again. Happiness seemed to overflow in the air, and all the worries, fears, and anxieties vanished in an instant. Every member of the family felt a deep appreciation for life, for the loved ones they still had. James looked into his mother's eyes, feeling a sense of peace within her gaze. Finally, after all that had happened, he knew that his family had overcome the greatest challenge of their lives. He couldn't imagine that such a miraculous moment could ever happen. The grief and pain had forced him to grow stronger, but this joy brought him an immense sense of relief. He felt as if he had been reborn, able to love and cherish his loved ones once again. James' mother couldn't stop smiling, and her tears were no longer of sorrow but of happiness she couldn't express. Her feeling at this moment was indescribable, as if she had lived again, seeing her beloved husband safe and sound, back with the family. She looked at James, feeling his love for her, and her heart was filled with gratitude. She silently thanked the heavens for sparing her family from another unbearable loss. That unexpected phone call not only brought James' father back to life, but also gave the entire family a change they would never forget. They realized more than ever that the precious moments in life aren't always easy to come by. Because of that, they decided to cherish every second they spent together, to love each other more, and never let small things distract them from the greater values. At the end of the evening, when everyone was gathered together, James and Diep sat by the window, looking out into the dark sky. They didn't speak much, just quietly enjoying the peaceful atmosphere around them. James rested his head on Diep's shoulder, feeling lighter than ever. He understood that, no matter how difficult life might be, as long as there is family and love, any challenge could be overcome. For James, this moment wasn't just a miracle, it was a reminder that in every hardship, we can always find something precious. He looked into Diep's eyes, then back at his mother, silently thanking life for giving him the opportunity to love and care for his loved ones, because no one knows what the future will hold. This story truly moved me and made me reflect deeply. It is not only a story about life and death, but also a miraculous event that brings faith and hope to the family. Especially the moment when the family thought they had lost a loved one forever, only to receive a call from that very person. It was truly miraculous. The happiness and relief of knowing that his father was still alive is something words cannot fully express. This story reminds me that in the hardest times, we should never give up hope. Even though life is full of challenges and pain, sometimes just one miraculous moment can change everything. The family's reunion, the overwhelming joy after days of sorrow, is a testament to unconditional love and the power of hope. This is a meaningful story that makes me appreciate what I have even more and encourages me to keep loving the people around me.